Now I want to write about his son Adil. Friso, who had learned our history from the Book of the Adils, had done everything to win their friendship. His first son, born here to his wife Swethert, he named Adil immediately. And although he struggled with all his might not to restore or build castles, he still sent Adil to the castle on Texland so that he would become fully acquainted with everything that pertains to our laws, language, and customs. When Adil was 20 years old, Friso had him come to his own school, and when he was accomplished there, he had him travel through all the states. Adil was an amiable young man. On his travels, he made many friends, and the people called him Utheric, friendrich, something that later served him well because when his father died, he took his place without the need to choose another count. While Adil was apprenticing on Texland, there was also a very lovely girl at the castle. She came from the Saxon marches, from the state called Swobeland, hence she was called Swobeen on Texland, although her name was Ifkja. Adil had fallen in love with her, and she loved Adil, but his father commanded him to wait a little longer. Adil was obedient, but as soon as his father died and he was seated, he immediately sent messengers to Bertholdi, her father, requesting permission to take his daughter as his wife. Bertholdi was a prince of pure morals. He had sent Ifkja to Texland in the hope that she would someday be chosen as a castle maiden in his land. But he had learned of their mutual desire, so he went and gave them his blessing. Ifkja was a strong Frisian. As far as I have come to know her, she has always worked and strived so that friars' children could come under the same law and under one bond again. To win people to their side, she travelled with her husband from her father through all the Saxon marches and then to Geatmania. Geatmania, so named because of the interference of Gosa, was the state they had obtained. Then they went to the Denmark. From the Denmark, they went by boat to Texland. From Texland, they went to Westflyland and along the sea to Walhalagara. From Walhalagara, they departed along the southern Rhine, the Wall, until, with great fear, they arrived above the Rhine at the Marseton, about which our Apollonia has written. After staying here for a while, they returned to the lowland. After sailing to the lowland for a while, they came near the old castle of Aachen, where 4 servants were unexpectedly murdered and stripped naked. They had fallen a bit behind. My brother, who was present everywhere, had warned them many times, but they had not listened. The murderers who had committed this atrocity were Twisklanders, who nowadays come fearlessly across the Rhine to murder and plunder. The Twisklanders are banished and runaway children of Friar, but their women have been abducted from the Tartars. The Tartars are a brown Findas people, so named because they challenge all peoples to battle. They are all riders and robbers. Therefore, the Twisklanders have become just as bloodthirsty. The Twisklanders who had committed this wickedness called themselves Phrygian or Franks. My brother said that there were red, brown, and white among them. Those who were red or brown whitened their hair with lime water. However, as their faces remained brown, they became all the uglier for it. Like Apollonia, they later observed Leidesberg and Nialdurga. Afterward, they travelled around among their people over the areas of Stavron. They had behaved so charmingly that people everywhere wanted to keep them. 3 months later, Adil sent messengers to all the friends he had made and asked them to send wise people to him in the Minamond, month of love. Here, the transcriber, Hido OERA LINDA, accidentally turned an extra page, resulting in the loss of 2 pages. He mentioned that his wife, who had been a maiden on Texland, had received a copy of it. On Texland, many writings are still found that have not been transcribed into the Book of the Adils. Among these writings, Gosa had left one at her death, which was to be made public by the eldest maiden Albetha as soon as Friso had died. Here is that writing with the advice of Gosa. When Ralder gave children to the mothers of the human race, he placed one language in all tongues and on all lips. Ralder had given this gift to humans so that they could make themselves known to each other, understand what to avoid, and pursue what leads to salvation and preservation for all eternity. Ralder is wise and good and foresees everything. Because he knew that happiness and salvation must flee from the earth if wickedness could deceive virtue, he attached a just property to the language. This property ensures that one cannot tell a lie with it, nor speak deceitful words without stumbling or blushing, making it possible to recognize the wicked immediately from the heart. Since our language paves the way to happiness and salvation and also guards against evil inclinations, it is rightfully called golden language, the language of the good, and all who honor it have honor from it. But what happened? As soon as deceivers arose among our half-sisters and half-brothers who pretended to be servants of the good, that changed quickly. The deceitful priests and wicked rulers, who always collaborated, wanted to live according to their own whims and act outside the laws of the good. In their vice, they went away and devised other languages so that they could secretly talk in the presence of others about all bad things and unworthy matters without stumbling revealing them, nor blushing disfiguring their faces. But what came out of it? Just as the seed of good herbs easily sprouts when openly sown by good people in daylight, time easily brings to light the harmful herbs sown by bad people in secrecy and darkness. The lustful girls and effeminate boys who associated with the immoral priests and rulers elicited those new languages from their lovers, and thus they spread among the peoples until they completely forgot the language of the good. Do you want to know what became of that? Now that stumbling and facial color no longer betrayed their wicked desires, virtue departed from their midst, followed by wisdom and freedom, unity was lost, and discord took its place, love fled, and debauchery sits at the table with envy. Where justice once ruled, now the sword reigns. All are slaves, the people to their lords, the lords to envy, evil desires, and greed. If only they had devised one language, perhaps it would have gone well for some time. But they have devised as many languages as there are states. Thus, one people cannot understand another just as the cow cannot understand the dog or the wolf. The sheep. Sailors can confirm this. But now, as a result, all enslaved peoples regard each other as different beings, and as punishment for their recklessness and arrogance, they must judge and fight each other until they are all destroyed. Here is my advice. If you truly desire to inherit the earth alone, never let another language pass your lips except the language of the good, golden language. And make sure that your own language remains free from foreign sounds. If you want some children of Lida and Finda to remain, do the same. The language of the East Skoonlanders has been twisted by the filthy Magyars, the language of the Kultana followers has been corrupted by the dirty Golan. We have been so gracious as to welcome back the returning Hellenia followers into our midst, but I fear they will repay our grace with the contamination of our pure language. We have experienced a lot, but of all the castles disrupted and destroyed by the bad times, Eartha Friarsbergt has remained unharmed. I may also mention that Friars or the language of the good has been equally preserved here without damage. Here on Texland, schools had to be established, young people from all states adhering to the old customs had to be sent here. Afterward, those who were educated could help the others waiting at home. If other nations want to buy ironware from you and discuss and negotiate about it, they must return to the language of the good. If they learn the language of the good, then the words will be free and have the right to penetrate their minds. In their minds, it will begin to gleam and shine until everything becomes a flame. This flame will consume all wicked rulers and all hypocritical and vile priests. The indigenous and foreign envoys were satisfied with that document, but no schools were established. Adel then founded schools himself, and after him, other rulers did the same. Every year, Adel and Ifkia would inspect the schools. If they found among the natives or foreigners those who showed friendship towards each other, they both expressed great joy. If some fortunate ones had sworn friendship to each other, they would gather all the people, and with great splendor, they would have their names written in a book, which they called the Book of Friendship. Afterward, there would be festivities. All these customs were maintained to reunite the separate branches of Friar's tribe. But the maidens who were jealous of Adel and Ifkia said that they did it only for a good reputation and to gradually gain power over another land. Among my father's writings, I found a letter written by Ljudjit den Geertman, aside from some matters that concern only my father, I present the rest here. Pangab, which means 5 waters, and where we come from, is a river of exceptional beauty and is called 5 waters because 4 other rivers flow into the sea at its mouth. Far eastward, there is another great river called the holy or devout Ganges. Between these 2 rivers lies the land of the Hindus. Both rivers flow down from the high mountains to the lowlands. The mountains from which they flow are so high that they reach up to the sky, Laya, hence the mountain range is called Himalaya. Among the Hindus and others from those lands, there are some people who gather in silence. They believe that they are the pure children of Finda. They believe that Finda was born from the Himalaya mountain, from where she moved with her children to the delta or the lowland. Some of them believe that she descended with her children on the foam of the holy Ganges. Therefore, that river is said to be called the holy Ganges. However, priests from another land tracked down those people and burned them, hence, they dare not openly advocate for their cause. In this land, all priests are fat and wealthy. In their churches, various monstrous images are found, including many made of gold. To the west of Pangab are the Iranians, or stern ones, Drangians, the Gedrostan, Jedrosians, or runaways, and the Yugetan, Orits, or forgotten ones. All these names have been given to them by the envious priests because they avoid them due to their customs and beliefs. Upon their arrival, our ancestors also settled on the eastern bank of the Pangab, but because of the priests, they also sailed to the western bank. Thus, we got to know the Iran and others. The Iran are not savages but good people who do not allow or worship images. They also do not tolerate churches or priests, and just like us adhering to the holy light of Fasta, they keep fire burning in their homes everywhere. However, if you go very westward, you will come to the Gedrostan. About the Gedrostan, they are mixed with other peoples and speak various languages. These people are real wild murderers who always roam the fields with their horses, always hunting and plundering, and who hire themselves out as soldiers to the surrounding rulers, for whom they cut down everything they can reach. The land between the Pangab and the Ganges is as flat as Friesland by the sea, interspersed with fields and forests, fertile in every aspect. However, this cannot prevent thousands from dying of hunger there at times. This famine, therefore, should not be attributed to Ralda or Eartha, but only to the rulers and priests. The Hindus are just as shy and fearful of their rulers as hinds are of wolves. Therefore, the Iran and others have called them Hindus, meaning hinds. But their shyness is terribly exploited. When foreign merchants come to buy grain, everything is sold, and the priests allow it because they, even more cunning and greedy than all rulers combined, know very well that all the money eventually ends up in their pockets. Apart from that, the people there suffer a lot from their rulers. They also have to endure many poisonous and wild animals. There are large elephants that roam in whole herds, sometimes trampling entire grain fields and destroying entire villages. There are spotted and black cats, called tigers, as large as big calves, devouring both humans and animals. Among many other crawling creatures, there are snakes ranging from the size of a worm to the size of a tree. The largest can devour a whole cow, but the smallest are even more terrifying. They hide among flowers and fruits to ambush people who want to pick them. If bitten, you must die because Eartha has not given herbs against their venom, so people have engaged in idolatry. Furthermore, there are various kinds of lizards, turtles, and crocodiles. All these monsters, like the snakes, range in size from a worm to a tree trunk, depending on how large or frightening they are. Their names, which I cannot mention all, the very largest monsters are called alligators because they eagerly bite into the rotting cattle that drifts with the current, as well as the living cattle they can attack. On the west side of Pangab, where we come from and where I was born, the same fruits and grains flourish and grow as on the east side. Previously, the same crawling creatures were also found, but our ancestors burned all the crippled forests and often hunted the wild animals, leaving only a few. If you go very westward from Punjab, you will find, in addition to rich clay soil, arid sandy soils that seem endless, sometimes interspersed with charming areas that captivate the eye. Among the fruits of the land, there are many that I have not found here. Among various grains, there is also golden yellow grain. There are also golden yellow apples, some as sweet as honey, and others as sour as vinegar. We have nuts the size of children's heads. They contain cheese and milk. When they are old, they are made into oil. Rope is made from the bark, and bowls and other household items are made from the pits. Here in the woods, I have seen crawling and stabbing berries. In our land, berry trees are as large as your lime trees, with berries much sweeter and 3 times larger than your hawthorn berries. When the days are longest and the sun shines directly above us, it shines straight down on your head. If you then sail very far south with your ship and stand facing east in the afternoon, the sun shines on your left side, as it normally does on your right side. With this, I want to end, but after my writing, it will be easy for you to distinguish the deceitful stories from the true reports. Yours, Liajet.